People believed for a long time that J-Lo's relationship with Diddy ended with the nightclub incident in the 1990s, when Shine was ultimately held accountable. But now, rumors are circulating that she continued to be engaged in the drama even after they split up. But the bit that's truly spicy? Ben Affleck went away before things got bad because he knew about it all, according to several individuals. What precisely did he discover, though? And did Diddy really use some dubious video of J-Lo reportedly having sex with some of his victims as blackmail? Let's discuss it.
He joins us now, sharing her story. Natanya, thank you so much for being with us. I can't imagine what you've been through since 1999 and then all the emotions that must be coming up over the last couple of days.
I can tell you that immediately, the moment she opened her mouth, you could see that Combs was listening intently to everything that she had to say, as well as those jurors.
After Jennifer Lopez was dragged into the Diddy lawsuit over allegedly being the gun mule in a 1999 nightclub shooting where Diddy and J-Lo allegedly made a rapper named Shine take the fall and spend 10 years in prison for them, people have started digging into her past and it raises some questions.
I don't know if he was present with that, but you know, I know he had been hanging around with him in London, in Paris, different places.
Law enforcement sources are expecting the feds to widen the Diddy probe to include previous criminal investigations. Now, we know Diddy was criminally investigated regarding that shooting in New York, but I didn't realize the extent of J-Lo's involvement.
And I said, Puffy shot me in my face. This man testified. I testified in the criminal trial. This man testified in the criminal trial. People are like, why didn't she speak up then? Why is she saying something now? She want clout. Are you dumb?
J-Lo is just, I don't know. Every man she's been with has said the same thing, except for Diddy. Diddy's the only one that said she was a great girlfriend and how he wish he hadn't messed it up.
Well, she deserved it. She's one of the flyest out there.
Yeah, well, she thinks that of you too. She named you one of the great loves of her life.
Yeah,
was she one of yours too?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Jennifer Lopez is one individual who obviously has a past with Diddy. She tried to minimize their connection for years, pretending it wasn't serious, but everybody who recalls the late 1990s is aware of the situation. Over the years, there has been much discussion about how close they really were, and they were the it couple, always in the news. Many people think that J-Lo was Diddy's ride or die, and that she was far more aware of what was happening behind the scenes than she has ever acknowledged. However, the whole narrative of their connection has never been told, for whatever reason. Although we were all aware that they were dating, the rumors persisted. For years, many have been claiming that there was much more to it, particularly in relation to the nightclub event in 1999. That was a pivotal moment. J-Lo has always given a hazy account of what happened despite being there when it all happened. She has created the impression that she is innocent, as if she was just swept up in Diddy's whirlwind lifestyle and was unaware of his true involvement. However, some admirers have always thought she was concealing something. The entire tale behind that club makes J-Lo's participation look a bit less innocent than she's let on. She and Diddy were celebrating Shine's impending record that evening by going out to a club in Times Square. J-Lo was still in the early stages of her career, while Shine was only 21 years old and just starting out in the business. Diddy, who was carrying a bottle of champagne, unintentionally ran into Matthew Allen, sometimes known as Scar, as they were exiting the club. It grew heated until Scar couldn't stand it any longer and pushed Diddy. Diddy was obviously offended when one of Scar's cronies flung a pile of cash in his face. Suddenly, Diddy reportedly produced a firearm, and gunfire erupted. In a matter of seconds, everything became pandemonium. 3 persons were injured in the end, including Nata Rubin, a lady who was allegedly shot in the face.
I said, Puffy shot me in my face. This man testified. I testified in the criminal trial. This man testified in the criminal trial. People are like, why didn't she speak up then? Why is she saying something now? She want clout. Are you dumb?
According to some, Diddy was the one who fired the shot. Diddy and J-Lo, meanwhile, left as everything fell apart. They jumped into a Lincoln Navigator that had a secret compartment in the rear and took off as soon as the rounds were fired. However, what about the wild part? They were stopped for racing a red light in an attempt to make a quick getaway, but they weren't even apprehended at the scene. They both had to take mugshots at the police station. J-Lo allegedly sobbed uncontrollably and was a complete mess. They even shackled her to a pole at one point. And then her mother appeared, shouting in Spanish, "I told you to stay away from him." It was obvious to her mother that Diddy was trouble from the start, and to be honest, she wasn't mistaken. J-Lo ultimately allowed Diddy's legal team to use her name to assist him avoid the charges associated with the whole incident, which made matters even more bizarre. I don't know if you know this, Judge, but this person, Jennifer Lopez, is a very famous actress, one of his attorneys allegedly informed the court. The idea that Mr. Combs is carrying a loaded handgun while strolling around with her is so absurd that it defies comprehension. That defense, for some reason, did succeed, and Diddy left without being charged. Recent allegations, however, suggest that J-Lo's role in the whole affair may have included much more than just allowing him to use her name. According to Lil Rod's complaint, Diddy explicitly acknowledged that J-Lo was the one who first carried the firearm into the club. As if that weren't crazy enough, she allegedly gave it to him and instructed him to fire when things with Scar became hot. Oh, no, wait! He disclosed that the artist and Mr. Combs' then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, also known as J-Lo, brought the weapon to the club for him and gave it to him after he got into a fight, the complaint said. Yes, it's quite obvious that J-Lo had a lot of influence on Diddy. She was completely gone. She also said in an interview that she was really in love with Diddy and would have done anything for him despite the fact that he was cheating on her. He didn't hesitate to have that girl on his finger, child. It was the first time she had ever been with someone who wasn't loyal, she added. When I was with Puff, I was sobbing uncontrollably, going mad and losing my mind. My whole life really went into a tailspin. Fans claim that since J-Lo was so enmeshed in Diddy's world, she was prepared to comply with all of his requests. Even apparently participating in those notorious freak-offs, she was reportedly continuing interacting with him behind the scenes even after their breakup.
Just now sharing her story. Natanya, thank you so much for being with us. I can't imagine what you've been through since 1999 and then all the emotions that must be coming up over the last couple of days.
I can tell you that immediately, the moment she opened her mouth, you could see that Combs was listening intently to everything that she had to say, as well as those jurors.
After Jennifer Lopez was dragged into the Diddy lawsuit over allegedly being the gun mule in a 1999 nightclub shooting where Diddy and J-Lo allegedly made a rapper named Shine take the fall and spend 10 years in prison for them, people have started digging into her past and it raises some questions.
I don't know if he was present with that, but I know he had been hanging around with him in London, in Paris, different places.
Law enforcement sources are expecting the feds to widen the Diddy probe to include previous criminal investigations. Now, we know Diddy was criminally investigated regarding that shooting in New York, but I didn't realize the extent of J-Lo's.
Despite being married to other guys, 50 Cent claimed that J-Lo was still having affairs with Diddy. Rumor has it that J-Lo was smack in the middle of Diddy's crazy, freak-off lifestyle, totally immersed in the chaos. However, let's not overlook the fact that the authorities kind of alluded to this in their indictment documents against Diddy before we even get to that blind item. Although her name wasn't mentioned explicitly, if you read between the lines, wow. According to the paper, the defendant abused women and other people in a consistent and widespread manner. As part of his pattern, Combs coerced women into engaging in carefully planned acts of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. This was sometimes verbal, emotional, and physical. Sometimes Combs and others working under his orders arranged for commercial sex workers and ladies to travel to his place by acquiring and delivering narcotics to the ladies, managing their jobs, using intimidation, leveraging his financial support and threatening to cut it off and other means. Combs made sure the women participated. Additionally, it claimed that the defendant committed, enabled, and concealed his abuse and commercial sex acts via the Combs Company, including specific workers. These workers, which included personal assistants, high-ranking managers, security personnel, housekeepers, and other close allies, served as Combs's go-betweens, and Combs's authority over the Combs Company enabled and supported their behavior. The officials also said that they had been keeping an eye on Diddy's alleged freak-off parties for years and that some well-known celebrities had participated in them. According to the paper, Combs and other Combs Enterprise members and allies used the prestige and authority of Combs' position at the Combs Company to threaten, coerce, and entice female victims into his sphere of influence, often in the guise of a love engagement. Combs then coerced victims into doing prolonged actions with male commercial sex workers, whom he called freak-offs, among other things, by using force, threats of force, and compulsion. Okay, let's go on to the next item. Rumor has it that 50 Cent said that J-Lo was not just present during the freak-offs, but actively taking part in them. He apparently said that some of the individuals J-Lo was hanging out with at these events weren't even of legal age, which is where things get very sticky. And source claims that 50 didn't just keep that information to himself. He reportedly handed the FBI everything, including video evidence that purportedly showed J-Lo at those gatherings with those young lads. Now, as everyone knows, 50 has a personal grudge against Diddy. Since he has been criticizing him for years, it is not surprising that he would be the one to drop such a bomb. However, he has now gone beyond just making fun of people on social media. Giving the feds the tape is sure to land Diddy and J-Lo in much more trouble. It's going to be a whole catastrophe when his documentary eventually airs. 50 Cent is reportedly giving wires to the Hollywood friends that the FBI have knocked, the Blind story said. Jennifer Lopez was captured on many knock tapes that the FBI confiscated during the PD residence searches. And there are recordings of Lopez engaging in sexual activity with minors during the PD freak-off parties. The FBI told Ben Affleck about the tapes and the upcoming charges, which is why he and Lopez are divorcing. Rumor has it that J-Lo may be named by the federal government before the trial concludes. We don't know whether they